what I was going to go through today, so just some of the basics in sales, why people buy. I wanted to leave you with some actionable insights and takeaways. So I don't just want to talk to you for half an hour. I want this, particularly as it's just you and I, to be quite interactive. And if it's okay with you, I also want to set you a little bit of homework.
Oh, okay.
Okay, not a lot, so don't panic. I know you're busy, but it's just a little bit to kind of get you thinking beyond just this short conversation that you and I are going to have. And so I'll keep it quite high level, and if there's anything that you want me to try and go a little bit deeper on, then just tell me. I'll tell you a little bit about my experience in sales and the things I've learned, and my experience as the industry, and how some of those might help you with what you're doing. So I'll cover, I think what we'll focus on, as you said, is the bit that you really struggle with, the first part of having that sales conversation with somebody. So it seems like you've got a pretty good idea of how to generate leads, get contacts.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, well, so far, right?
Okay.
I mean, I think there will come
Sure.
a point where I'll run out of leads, but I think, with what I do, it's fairly specific. So it's quite easy to identify people who could benefit from it.
Okay, fine. So just a really quick bit about me, so you know who you're talking to. So as Serena said, I've been in sales for about 18 years, and I'm not one of these people that was born complete natural at selling. I've met some of those people, and I've got to be honest, I envy them. So I've struggled in my sales career. I've had really bad years, really frustrating years, but I've had lots of good coaching and patient sales managers that could see that I was determined to succeed. And I've just noticed in that picture of me, I'm actually wearing the same shirt. I do have more than one shirt. So having that support in my career has been really, really, really important. There's lots of different ways to fill your pipeline and to convert it into sales, and I'll cover some of those today. And I've launched my own sales school, as Serena said, and one of the reasons I've decided to run this session is really I just want to find out what works for people and how I can try and make that better. So any feedback that you can give me, I'll be delighted to take that on board as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right, good. So what do we need to be good in sales, to be good at sales? So to start with, what is sales? So sales is providing your service or product in exchange for money. So sales plays a pivotal role in success of your business, as I'm sure you've realized. And the role of sales is to bridge the gap between the potential needs of your customer and the product or service that you're offering. And service, I think, and you might feel the same, used to be a really dirty word, and we've all seen images of dodgy car salesmen that get quite a bad reputation, and there's a kind of preconception, I guess, that a salesman will just do anything and lie to you to get a sale. And that does exist, but that's absolutely not what we're teaching today, and absolutely not how I would want you to run your business. So it's very much trying to support people and to find uncover their problems and how your solution can solve those problems. Okay. And to be a good salesperson, there's some fundamental things that I think you need to have. So you need to be passionate, you need to be hardworking and honest, and structured. And structure is really important. So having a solid sales structure allows you to identify what works and what doesn't. And that's actually part of what I'm doing here today, is identifying what works and what doesn't. And then you can replicate what does work and change what you feel doesn't. So in some sports, a coach will have a playbook for each different scenario. It's quite a bad example, but the most relevant one I can think of is American football. I don't know if you follow that, but in each different play, the coach will have a different scenario, exactly what to do in each different play. And that's kind of what I think we need to start developing here as well. So a good result for this meeting, I think, would be for you to start thinking and putting together your own playbook and structure and framework for being successful. Okay. Now, the other thing I think is really important is to understand the why. So your why. So why do you do what you do? And I think this is really important. You mentioned that you just gone off to set up your own business. That was obviously a difficult decision. It's not something that you thought about doing overnight. So why did you not just go for the easier option and to get a job or carry on in your career? You might want to.
Yeah, I mean, the honest answer to that is, if you are posing the question to me, is
I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of put in that position, if I'm honest. The pandemic meant the company I was working for previously sort of decided to get rid of 63 people, which was about 40% of their workforce. I mean, not malicious or anything. That was the situation they were put in by the pandemic. So whilst I was looking for a job, if you will, I decided, right, well, what have I got that people quite like? And it was the consultancy helping companies out, with the decision making, right? So I set it up, and actually, whilst I was looking for a job, which was really slow because of the situation the world's in at the moment, actually, a few of the projects and conversations that I had started to pick up. So I thought, I should probably take this a bit more seriously. People do actually want what I've got, and to be fair, if I'm honest, there's a bit of nudging from my girlfriend as well, saying you should do it. You can do this.
Good.
Behind every successful person is someone who's going to tell them to get on with it, right? So as a result, that's what I did. So why am I doing it? Well, one, because I didn't have a choice. Two, because it seems people like what I do. And three, because actually in my industry, there's not many people who do what I do, at least with a whole market kind of independent view. You typically you have to go to organizations who have got salespeople who sadly can only actually sell you what they've got. It's a little bit like going into your own bank and saying, hey, I would like a mortgage. And they say, great, we've got these ones. If you want something else, sorry, you've got to go elsewhere. So what I've discovered is actually there's probably an opportunity for independent advice. And it's something that I think, certainly in my industry, I mean, I don't know the kind of stuff that you've sold, but financial technology, commonly known as fintech, people come to the table with some really quite odd and unusual ideas about how to help people with their finances, things that would have been considered completely outrageous about 10 years ago, like, we're going to start up a new bank. Turns out Starling did all right at that. Turns out Monzo did all right at that, and Revolut's done all right. Actually, these things aren't so unusual anymore. But there's lots of other things coming through. I mean, I won't bore you with some of the bizarre ideas people have, but the common thread seems to be is they just don't know how to do the payment bit, and they kind of want a whole market view. I guess a safe pair of hands maybe is the right decision. Right description. Yeah.
So that's why somebody would come to you, I guess. That'd be.
Yeah, I mean, I've got quite a bit of experience. I've been doing this for over 12 years, but more importantly, I really love what I do. I find the whole payments innovation thing really quite exciting. When people talk to me about what they're doing, I really get into it. More often than not, I'll sign up for what they've got as well. But
all right.
I think so that they kind of need a friend in the industry. They need somebody who can kind of fight their corner, find the right suppliers and the right people that aren't going to rip them off, because there's a lot of expensive solutions out there which you don't actually have to take. There are other ways to do it. I'm trying to think of what the best one. I mean, I guess I'm more like a guide, really, with a bit of knowledge. So someone sets off from their house and decides, well, they want to get to a certain place. Who do you speak? Who are the ones that are going to get you there with a bit of knowledge? I mean, you speak to your next door neighbour, they might be able to help you, but they're not really experts in getting places. I suppose if you speak to a taxi driver, they'll probably know the best route, right? it'll be the quickest route, possibly the cheapest route, depends how honest the taxi driver is. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing. Really, really bad description. And as you can see,
I've got a that helps because
yeah.
And that kind of pitch is something that I just want to try and maybe help you try and refine as well, because one of the slides which I'll come to in a minute is about your elevator pitch, so being able to describe what you do in 10 seconds. Okay. So I think that trying to define that, I think will be quite good. But so the reason I built this, so I'll give you my why. So I've made this jump out. I left my job, similar reasons to you, I guess, but I've got into this coaching role so I can get a better life for me and my family. And that's, I realized that actually I was selling software to construction businesses, but actually, what I was good at was the sales part. And there's lots of people out there like you and lots of other people in this AndCo community that are really good at what they do, but they've never had any sales experience. So just trying to help people like that to move their businesses forward. I think that's why I do it. Okay. And what I want you to think about as well is who are your customers. So you work in the payments industry, but who do you talk to if you wanted to go and approach a bank or a payment provider? Who do you speak to in that company? Who would you send a LinkedIn message to? Who would that be?
Yeah, so I guess because I'm talking to relatively new startups, it's generally going to be a founder or a co-founder or some kind of either the CTO or CEO.
Okay.
Sometimes if they're a bit bigger, it'll be probably some kind of head of innovation or
change management or something, or
something like that. Yeah. Or sometimes head of product, if they've got a head of product. So they're generally the kind of people, because it's got to be the people that can decide, because these are big decisions that they're making.
Of course.
Yeah.
So something that's come up in this in the Slack group before, people talk to me about. People mention about how a sales cycle can be quite long, from the time that you first start talking to somebody to the time that they actually decide whether to buy your product or not. And one of the reasons the sales cycle is too long is because the customer has too much choice. Sometimes it's about cost, sometimes it's about decision. From my experience, it's usually down to not focusing on the correct customers, so like trying to sell to everybody. And there's people out there that are ready to buy your product and have the problem that your product solves. So trying to get those people into your sales cycle and they're the ones that will take action quicker. And trying to identify who buys from you. So you mentioned how you search for customers at the moment. Have you got like a CRM tool or something like that you're using?
Yeah, so I invested in a CRM called Copper. Don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't actually. Copper, C-O-P-P-E-R.
That's right. Yeah, so I quite like that because I'm not a fan of I'm really not a fan of typing and admin. Right.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know many people who are, but no. I'm probably one of the worst, if I'm honest with you. So what I like about Copper is the fact that it's integrated with G Suite. So I've used Google. I've used G Suite. Sorry, for my email. I mean, it's not a Google email. It's my domain email address. But because of that, Copper's integrated. It means I've got a little sidebar that if I want to add them to Copper as a contact, I literally just click a button, and it sort of spots their LinkedIn profile, information about them, just kind of populates the CRM, which is quite nice. But equally, it's got, and this is something I'm working on, which is why I'm quite pleased with getting involved in this really is a bit of a sales process, which I really have no clue on the best way to do it. But in that it has almost like a Trello board type sales kind of thing, which is quite cool. Because I've got, if I look at the leads and contacts, I mean, there's over 80. And it obviously it kind of goes down a bit like a funnel, right? So the CRM that I'm doing does a lot of that automatically for me, which is kind of cool. But I have to set it up, obviously, and that's what I'm working on. But Copper, I'm pretty impressed with it, to be honest, because it integrates. So if I set up a meeting with a contact that's in my CRM system on my calendar, it automatically puts in the CRM for me, so I don't have to do it twice. Again, probably because I'm a bit lazy when it comes to admin.
Look, some of the best salespeople I know are the lazy ones, because they're the ones that will look for ways around things and ways of making things quicker and more streamlined. So there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with being lazy.
I feel vindicated then. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. So just one of the reasons why. So earlier I mentioned about targeting and making sure that you're not wasting your time talking to people that are not going to buy from you, is you end up having a different message for different people. So you might think to yourself, oh, this guy works for a bank, so I'm going to approach him with this message, and this guy works for an insurance company. So I know you don't get involved in insurance companies, but if you did, you might think, oh, I might go approach them with this message, and then what ends up happening is your sales message just gets really blurry, and you try and appeal to everyone. In reality, you appeal to nobody. So filtering is really important. It sounds like you're doing a little bit of that anyway, the way that you're going through LinkedIn. So something like Sales Navigator is really good. I don't know if you use that, but if you don't, I recommend it, because you can really drill down and find the people and the types of businesses that you want to talk to, and the people in the right positions. It's not cheap. I think it's about 70 quid a month, but I think you get a free month, so give it a try and see what you think.
Yeah, I may do that actually. Thank you.
So a quick example is I've got a friend who's quite successful, and he asked me a few years ago. He said, I'm about to start a new company, and he wanted to talk to me about targeting. So said, okay, great. So who are you going to be targeting? And he said, I've developed an app for salespeople, and I'm going to target companies with salespeople. Well, every company has salespeople, so I was thinking, oh, you're targeting every company in the world, so that's not going to work. But then he said, kind of worked on it, and then he said, actually, I'm going to be targeting companies with salespeople, because we've kept the app really simple, and what I'd like to do is start selling the app to companies with only 1 or 2 salespeople. And because we've put a lot of effort into how it looks, and the user experience, we're actually going to be targeting people that will really appreciate the look and feel of it and the design. So I'm going to be talking to web design firms and architecture firms. And because he lives in London, he said, I'm actually only going to be talking to people in London to start with. So that's how he filtered down his target list and drilled it down. And so he's only targeting 2% of the total customer base, but targeting that 2% really well, rather than targeting 100% with a diluted message. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does actually. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things I like to talk about is understanding why people buy things. So understanding the emotional triggers that prompt somebody to take out their card and pay for your time and your service. So I always think that people don't buy logically at all. People either buy emotionally or to solve a problem that they've got. So look, I want to buy a Ferrari at some point, and that's absolutely not logical at all. There's no logical reason for me to buy a Ferrari, but I'm emotionally invested in the idea of driving a Ferrari. Now, if I buy one, I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do to my family, but once I do it, I'm going to tell them it was on sale. What was the last thing you bought from Amazon?
Oh, crikey. It's been a while, if I'm honest.
Okay. Or any kind of online place like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last thing I bought online was probably a couple of mobile phone sims, actually.
Okay, so why did you buy those?
Well, primarily because my daughter needed one, and I wanted to get, a package, where you can have multiple sims in one.
Okay,
So yeah, I ended up doing quite a bit of research and found that BT happened to be the best option for what I wanted at the time. And yeah, that's the
okay.
last thing I've ordered online.
But you bought it to solve a problem. So your daughter needed
Yeah,
a mobile phone sim. So
yeah,
that's just a quick example to you understand why people buy things. Although countering what I said, it sounds like you put quite a logical process in place to buy that.
yeah,
um,
kind of.
what are you like? I mean, you've given me a pretty eloquent description of your business, but generally, what are you like at telling stories? Because I always think that telling a good story can it really helps with the selling process, and this is something that I think would serve you really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a social environment, probably quite good. But I think
Okay,
in a business environment, perhaps not. Maybe it's something I
okay.
should think about.
Yeah, I think being able to tell a story is really powerful. So it helps people imagine using your service. So it's one of the most powerful tools that you can have. So a well-told story of someone you've helped in your previous role, or a happy customer, just makes everything really relatable. So advice on telling a story is don't overcomplicate things. Uh, Oversimplification is like the first key to being able to tell a story. So there's something I like to use, which I call the a bit like principle. So when you're trying to explain something complicated, which I'm sure what you're advising people on is quite complicated, it's talk a little bit to use the a bit like principle. So it's a really good way to make something complicated really simple and relatable. So would a 5-year-old or an 85-year-old understand it? And if not, use the a bit like principle. So it's a bit like this, a bit like that. So a lot of times I always see people try and use big words when trying to explain something because they think it impresses people, and it really doesn't. People just switch off. And one of the things I mentioned earlier about some of the most successful salespeople that I've seen are quite lazy. Also, some of the most successful salespeople that I've met before are not very smart, which means that they have to explain everything in a really simple way. And being able to do that is really, really powerful.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and your lift pitch. So being able to describe what you do really quickly. So an example I might use is imagine if you bumped into your uncle and he's elderly and he's not quite as sharp as he used to be, and he says to you, Russell, what do you do for work? What's your job? What would you say? How would you explain that?
Crikey. I guess the quick response to that is I help companies make better decisions about payments,
Okay.
helping them avoid spending too much money or not getting the services that they need, I guess is kind of in a nutshell what I do.
Okay, that's pretty clear. I understood that. So, if you just gave a job title, the chances are I probably wouldn't understand it. So, if
Not a
you
clue.
were
Yeah.
if you were a marketing consultant, what does that mean? So, being able to describe it in a way that who you help and how you help them is really good. And I think what you've just done there is really powerful. Have you thought about that before, or is that just something you've
Um,
put together now?
Kind of on the fly, if I'm honest. I mean, I've based that on something that I put on the website.
Okay.
So I've obviously the website's not complete yet, but there's a holding page and it does say a little bit on there. And I was trying very hard to do it in just a couple of sentences because I didn't want it to be kind of wordy. So I guess it's the same thing. You don't need it to be wordy when you're talking as well, right?
It's exactly the same thing. So I might say I run a sales school, so I help business owners and entrepreneurs identify and fill gaps in their sales strategy. And I think that probably needs a bit of work too, but pretty simple, would you say?
Yeah, that gets to the point, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any specific questions about what that perhaps I can? Oh, it's something I've missed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because what I'm doing is, I guess there's kind of three streams to what I do. You know, I've got one area that I sell, which is basically my consultancy services to these kind of startup companies about, as I say, you know, helping make the right decisions, and if they've made bad ones, find ways to solve it. Then there's quite a specific area that I'm supporting a company in, which is open banking. I really won't bore you with it because you'll both be falling asleep by the time I'm finished.
No, I understand.
But that's it's in the same area, but kind of different.
Yeah.
And then there's another service, which is, I guess, part of that second thing, which is helping companies be able to take that up, if you will. So I've almost got like three different things that I'm selling at the moment, and I'm kind of toying with, you know, do I keep those three things separate, or do I kind of package two of them together to make it easier to talk about? I can't quite decide. I suppose, you know, what I'd intended to do is just ask some potential customers, you know, what would make more sense to them. But seeing as you're here talking about how to sell things, I might as well ask you.
So I think, what do you, if you were buying the service, how would you expect to see it?
Well, because one of the, okay, I won't talk about the consultancy. I'll talk about the project and the kind of the thing that will help some of the companies access that. I suppose the first bit's a gateway to it, really. But equally, and this is where I've got a challenge, because of, let's say, the 80 targets that I've got at the moment for this, there's probably a percentage of those, and it's likely to be somewhere between 20 and 30%, who need to get a thing called a license to be able to use the technology that I'm kind of selling as a back, you know, to follow that up. And at the moment, I'm wondering, do I identify the customers first who need the technology and then sell them the kind of the service to get access to it?
Yeah.
Or do I sell them the access, then the technology? I can't quite decide what's the best approach. Bit of a difficult one, really.
So one is an add-on to another, would you say, or would you say they were two completely separate things?
Yeah, well, no, they're not separate.
Okay.
So in the world of finance, there's a lot of regulation, right?
Right.
It's designed to protect people like you and I from fraudsters and all that kind of horrible stuff, and businesses too, not just people. So the FCA, the regulator over here, says to do certain things, you have to have certain licenses, which means that they've been approved to do it the correct way, right? So the technology that I'm selling, you need a license to be able to use it and then do these payments for consumers, right? Now, of the targets that I have that could use that technology, probably 20 to 30% of them don't have that license just yet. So what I've done is align myself with another company who can help them get that license. And every time they go, yep, I'll use their services, I get a little bit of a kickback. So it's an intro fee for that. Now, I'm not quite sure what the best approach is. I'm kind of probably convinced myself, given there's only 20, 30% of them that need that, I should start with the technology first. And those that haven't got the license, then sell them the license. Rather than say, hey guys, you can have a license to do this, when the vast majority of them don't need it. So I think I've kind of convinced myself the right approach, actually.
Yeah, it sounds sensible. But if you were targeting people that needed access to that license, would that give you an opportunity to target more than the 80 people that you've got in your database at the moment?
That's a good question. I guess I'll find out as I go through. I mean, this is fairly early doors for me, so literally 2 weeks in. So Maybe 3.
Okay, because that's something else that I think. I mean, I don't know how you'd identify who needs that license.
Yeah, I mean, by getting access to databases of people who are doing certain things, which I've got some of, but not all of it's in sort of the public domain, so it's difficult to get hold of. So maybe thinking out loud. Sorry, Serena, if I'm boring you with this. I mean, payments is not exciting, sadly.
This is exactly why we run these, so go ahead.
And I appreciate we're running over, so apologies, Mario, as well.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, maybe I should just pitch both of them together, and it's almost like modular. They can choose what they need. Maybe that's the right approach.
So normally I'd suggest not doing that, just because that's how it would. Because when you actually start speaking to somebody, you've got a really short window of grabbing their attention and getting them to hear you out. I've had the phone put down on me more times than probably I've had hot dinners. So you've got a really short window of being able to grab somebody's attention. So I personally would maybe I mean, how we're doing a trial run of maybe speaking to people over 2 or 3 days using one approach, and then 2 or 3 days using the other approach. You just kind of test it out and see how far you get. I think that might be quite a good idea, just because then you can kind of refine it. I think going to people with, I do this or I do that, it's not usually successful.
Yeah, it's not going to be that appealing, is it, to someone?
No.
So you don't have long to get that content.
Yeah. And it's only because you're obviously an expert subject on your subject matter, so you want to be able to get into that conversation about the nitty-gritty as soon as possible. So just kind of getting their attention and building up to that point, I think you need to just pick one, go for it. But I think it's all about testing, trying different approaches, seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think if I make too many assumptions at this stage, I'll probably miss opportunities, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with trying to speak to all 80 people over the course of a week or however long you need to do that, and going in with one message and then trying to do the same 80 people going in with a different message and see the kind of uptake that you get.
Okay.
Was that helpful?
It is, actually. I mean, what I can probably do is record the message that I've given them and then record what kind of response I get. And then at least I can put a bit of data behind it when I start getting a few more leads.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. So just finishing up then, I hope you found this whole course quite helpful. It's designed to just be really high level. We've done this the second time we've done it, and there's a few more people on the last one. So trying to kind of cater for people with all different mixed levels of experience. But just what I do afterwards is I am, like I said, I'm starting sales school. So Serena, who you've met, is she's probably haven't told you, she's my fiance. So we through her.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So through her that I got access to doing this. But what I'd like to do is I'm putting a course together, which is like a basic sales course. And eventually the plan is to sell it for millions of dollars. But first step is
Sounds like a good plan.
First step is I just want some feedback on it. So if I give some people from AndCo free access to the course, just in return, just give me a review, is that something that you'd be open to doing?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm always up for learning. Yeah. Okay,
so I'm still putting it together, so it should be ready in the next month or so. Once it's ready, I'll let you know. And Serena will let you know as well.
Yeah, I mean, my email's on my profile on the Slack channel, so feel free to drop me a line, and I'll be very interested. Yeah, okay, I will do. And just your feedback on that would be worth
worth a lot to me. So,
and you've admitted to Serena that you're going to buy a Ferrari at some point. You realise that, right?
Yeah, but she's not. She's not going to be driving it.
And the session's been recorded, so I have proof.
I shot myself in the foot.
A little bit.
It's all right.
Marvellous.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thanks, Russ. Thanks, Serena, for setting it up. And this has been recorded. So if anybody's got any, who listens to us has got any questions for me or Serena or Russ, I'm sure you get in touch.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Serena. Thanks, Marianne.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Cheers.
Russ.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.